stellar ISA leadership. So here's how you can help me. If you would put into the chat box, what is your current biggest challenge leading ISAs? And I want to customize this class for you. So go ahead and type in when you thought, I'm going to take this webinar called Stellar ISA Leadership. What was in your mind that you wanted to learn? What questions do you have? And again, I'll customize the class for you. So I'm going to wait just a minute. It always has a slight delay on responses. And while I'm waiting, I want to introduce myself and tell you about some opportunities coming up. So my name's Anna. I think most of you, we've probably interacted at this point. I know a lot of the names, and I've been in the ISA since 2006. So I always joke with people, please do not try to figure out my age. It does not matter. Yeah, I've been in ISA since 2006. I have been a sales manager, a training director, and now I'm a coach for ISAs specifically. So with all that, I've learned a lot about what not to do, what you should do, and how to lead ISAs in a really great way. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to give you the top highlights of how to be a top ISA leader and keep talent on board. Again, send in your current challenges so I can address those. And what I want you to know is we're not going to cover everything in 25 minutes. It's just not going to happen as much as I wish it could. So please know that tomorrow we have a 5-week class launching. It meets 5 Thursdays in a row and everything's recorded. So if you can't catch it live, it's no big deal. We're going to have a class called How to Hire, Train, and Retain ISAs. I have a lot of people say, I've already made my hire. I just want to know how to be a better leader. Is that class only if you're hiring? And it's not. We spend about 1.5 classes out of 5 talking about the hiring process and what to look for and what qualities to look for. The rest of the class, the other 3.5 classes, are all about how do you actually lead this person once you have them. So know that I'm going to give you my best today, and we're not going to get to it all. So tomorrow is how to hire, train, and retain inside sales agents. It's one of the last classes being offered in 2020. It'll be a little bit before we offer it again. So make sure you sign up. It's available for 60 days after the class ends. You can watch the recordings. So I definitely recommend that. All right, let me read a couple of these questions coming in here. Hi, Rick. I see you on all the webinars. I love it. So I see some questions about compensation. Perfect. How do I hold people accountable? How do I keep talented ISAs on board? Perfect. So let's first just talk about what does a talented ISA look like, just real brief. And then we're going to talk about how do you keep them on board? How do you motivate them? Things like that. So first of all, a talented ISA, honestly, very commonly looks and acts, not appearance-wise, right? Their personality profile looks a lot like the actual team owner. Because if you think about it, really an ISA is a rainmaker. They make it rain, right? I think in real estate, we've said the rainmaker is like the person who started the team. Yet in most of the world, if you talk about the rainmaker, there's someone on the team who makes it rain money. Well, if you think about it, that's really what an ISA is. So I find that a lot of times ISA or inside sales agent, they really behave very much like the business owner. So I want to hear from you. What are some qualities that you think a talented ISA would possess? And I'll share with you some of mine. But what do you think some talented ISAs would possess? One thing I will say is they have to have that go get it. They have to have that go get it mindset. So one way that I see people fail with ISAs is they look for people that are customer service oriented. And it's a fine line because we want this person to be customer service focused, right? They're interacting with potential clients. However, if they're so customer service focused that they are not also closing and asking for the appointment, that's where we have a problem. We have a lot of happy people that are not meeting with us. So we want to make sure we find someone who's a go-getter. They feel good. They don't feel bad asking for the appointment, and they know how to close for the appointment. Also, one of the number one things I look for is a teachable spirit, So someone that's going to be receptive to feedback, because think about it, that's going to have to happen a lot, right? So what about you're talking to a lead. How do you talk to them in a better way? That's going to be requiring some feedback. Hey, on this call, I heard you say this, try this next time. So you definitely want someone who has a teachable spirit. Yeah, Pam says results oriented. Absolutely. So we want someone who's results oriented. They're not afraid to ask for the close, and they really have a teachable spirit. Yeah, good sales skills. Absolutely. They're good with people. Yeah, 100%. All right, so let's talk about, you found this person, how do you actually keep them on board? So one of the questions I saw was, how do I keep ISAs compensated? Well, guys, how you compensate them is actually a big part of how you keep talent around. And can I just be dead level honest with you? Can I just lay it all out there, be super transparent? It's pretty much how I roll. Really, I've had a lot of ISAs tell me that are not getting like a bonus or a commission split. They're just on straight salary. I hear a lot of ISAs tell me, I recognize I'm doing the part on the team that brings in business, yet my compensation isn't reflecting that, right? Like I'm bringing in all this business and I'm on a set salary or a set fee. And so I think I would just rather go do this on my own because I'm already doing the hard part, right? And please hear me when I say this. I understand for sure that once you have a client and you're getting them under contract, there's a lot of hard things involved in that, right? There can be a lot of bumps in the road. Yeah, I think we can all agree that talking to people that don't know you, you're truly lead generating, lead converting, and needing to get them interested enough to meet with you, that takes some of the highest talent, right? In fact, when you read Millionaire Real Estate Agent, I have the book right here. When you read this book, it talks about lead gen, lead conversion is really one of the last things that you leverage out because you really have to have someone very, 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 very skilled. So when you have someone that's very, 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 very skilled and they're not being compensated in a motivating way, frequently they will burn out very quickly or realize I can do this on my own, or I could find another team that will pay me really what I'm worth. So the best thing that we find as far as payment, and again, we go really deep into this in the how to hire, train, and retain class. We spend about a whole class just on this topic. Yet the quick overview is base pay, usually in the range of $2,000 to $3,000 a month, base pay. The range is because it depends where you live, right? So if you live somewhere with a really high cost of living, you're probably going to be more in that $3,000 a month base pay. Lower cost of living, probably more like that $2,000 base pay. Most ISAs that I know make around $2,000 base pay. That's the most common number that I see. Plus commission upon closing. Now, if they are licensed, they cannot receive commission unless they are licensed. So make sure you check with your state laws as you're setting up compensation plans. You got to make sure you're doing it the legally right way. I'm not a state law expert, so just check with your local broker. Just know that for them to receive commission, they would need to be licensed. If they're not licensed, check with a local broker on what are different ways you can compensate them. So just check, make sure you're doing it right. But here's the thing that helps retain ISAs. If they're having a base pay plus commission, what it really means is they have an unlimited earning potential. I know several ISAs that have done this 5 or 6 years and they all make over 6 figures. They love it because they get to be in real estate. They have a relatively set schedule and they're making 6 figures or more. And it's because the more closings they bring you, the more money they make. So it's a low risk for you, right? You have that lower base pay, $2,000 or $3,000 a month on average. And then they only get paid more if you get paid more. So that way it's a very motivating environment. It also motivates them to have closings. So we don't want to motivate ISAs to just set appointments. Appointments don't bring in money, right? It's kind of like the first domino to bring in money, but what brings in money is closings. So when you have a base pay plus commission, it motivates that person to get closings for your team, not just appointments and things like that. All right, any questions so far? And actually, I'm going to scroll back and make sure I'm reading through some of these things. Okay, I see a question. How do I hold my ISA accountable? So I'll get to that in just 1 second. And then another question, how do I transition from ISA to Director of Lead Gen? I think I say your name, Nikita. I hope I'm saying that right. If you could type in a little more specifically. So do you mean like how you're paid? How do you transfer responsibilities? It's just such a broad question that I'm not sure I'll answer it the way you're meaning me to. So if you would put a little bit more meat to that, that will help me answer that for you. Okay, so let's talk about how do you hold them accountable? That was a question that came in. So I find part of what helped our culture and made me want to stay on the team, excuse me, guys, I've got some allergies going on, was recognition in team meetings and also asking about goal versus actual in team meetings. So there's a couple things, and I would just grab pen and paper. I'm going to give you a couple things that you can do to hold that ISA accountable, and just jot them down. But first of all, the thing that I would recommend is do what's called a weekly 411 meeting. And if you're outside Keller Williams, you may not know what is the 411, but basically it's a document. And each week, let me kind of describe it this way. At the top, they have their monthly goal, and each month usually has 4 weeks, right? So at the top, it might say set 40 appointments. There's their monthly goal. Well, that would mean my weekly goal is to set 10 appointments. So they have their weekly goals beneath it. It's a 411. It takes a little longer to explain than we have now, but I hope a lot of you are familiar. If you're not, go to YouTube or go to KW Connect if you're within the KW network and just search 411 Keller Williams and it'll pop up. I guarantee you will find a video on how to do a 411. I also, in the ISA Mastermind group on Facebook, have a video. If you go to the video section, I talk about in detail how to do a 411 in the Facebook group, ISA Mastermind group. But basically, a 411 is a sheet that you look at. And what I did as an ISA is I sat down with my leader once a week, and we would look at what's my goal for the week, what's my actual for the week. It was really that simple. And if I was on goal, it was great. What did you do so you can keep doing it? And if I was behind goal, it was okay, what's the gap? What do we need to tweak so that by the end of the week, you are on goal for your appointment goal? And it sounds so simple, yet I accredit that 411 tool and a weekly accountability meeting to the majority of my success. So that would be step number one, is have a weekly meeting with the person you're leading and have a goal versus actual conversation and a mastermind around the result that they're getting. All right, in the comments, you should have just seen something come out of how to join the ISA Mastermind group. And again, if you go to videos, you'll see one that's called 411, and I go into big detail about how to do a 411. Okay, so let's keep going. So first thing, have a 411 meeting. Another thing that I recommend to hold your ISA accountable is this is really for your agents as well, but we would have a morning meeting every morning, and it was about 15 minutes. And it was basically, what was your goal yesterday and what was your actual yesterday? So knowing that I would be calling out, my goal was 2 appointments and I had 1 appointment, or I had 2 appointments. Knowing that I was going to call that out in front of the team was highly motivating because I wanted to have a good number. So that would be another thing that you can do, is have a really just transparency of every morning, have a meeting of goal versus actual with your sales team. A lot of the top teams do that. And a lot of top teams have transparency. So you really can know your teammates, where are they on their goal versus actual. So that would be the second thing. So number one, a weekly accountability meeting on goal versus actual. And then number two, kind of like a group accountability every morning of goal versus actual for the day before. Okay, I'm looking at a couple more questions. All right, let me go a little bit further on accountability. Another thing that I would recommend, and this is tapping into accountability, it's also tapping into culture to keep your ISA. So this is called stellar ISA leadership. Let's help you do this in a stellar way. So what we know is that a lot of ISAs struggle, and I'm just being transparent as an ISA and someone who works with ISAs. So just hear this for what I'm saying. But a lot of them say, I really struggle because we do all this work on the front end to get people in the door. And then when they close, the agent gets all the glory. Okay, I'm just being real. This is what I hear. I remember feeling this way as well. And what we have to recognize is that ISA, we don't know what they go through every day, right? Unless you're in the position yourself, but we don't know how long they nurtured that lead to get them in the door. So there are many times where you'll hear an ISA say, I nurtured this lead for 6 months. I got cussed out a couple times. I finally got them all on board. I got them pre-approved. I did all this stuff. And then when they closed, the agent is the one who got the full recognition. And that's hard for me. So what we've got to remember is talented ISAs are results oriented. They care about results. And so we need to praise them and reward them for results. So one thing that my team leader did that really helped solve this, actually, because we talked about it. I said, I'm kind of struggling because there's so much work and it's so much effort and it's a hard job to do. And then when people close, it's about the agent and it's not really recognizing anyone else on the team. So what I loved is my leader right away adjusted, and he started giving out this trophy. And if you look on the bottom, it's got each month, I don't know if you can really read that, but it's got January, February, March. And next to it would be for that month, who was the top ISA, and their initial went next to it. So every month there was who is the top ISA, who is the top buyer agent, who is the top listing agent, who is the top operations team member, really made sure everyone on the team had a chance to be recognized. And they would, on the bottom, next to the month, put what person won that month. And at the end of the year, if you had the most signatures on the bottom, you got to take it home. So I got to take this home. What year was this? I think it was 2014. I brought this home as the top ISA for that year. So that really helped. Something else that Haro would do is he would say, if an agent was like, oh yeah, I just had a closing today, he would say, great, where did that appointment come from? And he just kind of got in this reflective habit of, if someone had a win, or, oh, I just signed a client today, or, oh, I just had someone close. It was a great, that's awesome. I'm so glad for you. Who else was a part of that got them in the door? And what I loved is the agents really picked up on that very quickly and started expressing gratitude themselves. So just know it's really important for your ISA to hear from the team, from you as the leader, hey, we appreciate you. Because again, we don't know what all they went through. It could have been 30 phone calls before that person came in the door. Let's recognize that for that effort. That's another common thing that I hear. Okay, let me address some of the questions in the box. So how many days or how many hours a day does an ISA lead generate? So it should be 75% of their actual hours. So if someone's working 8 hours a day, that would be 6 hours actually lead generating, lead converting on the phone, doing the activity of lead gen, lead conversion. Excuse me. I frequently find, just being honest, as I teach the classes and I interact with ISAs, a lot of them say, oh man, I'm only on like 50% of the day. And what I usually find out is that the team has excessive amounts of meetings, or there's a lot of interruptions, or the agents come in and ask questions in the middle of a lead gen block. So just know, if you're leading ISAs right now and you realize, wow, they're not lead generating 6 out of 8 hours a day or 75%, take a step back and ask yourself why. It might actually be the ISA needs to do better with time management. It might also be team stuff that really doesn't need to be on their plate. So that's what I want you to take a look for. Hope that answers your question, Robert. And then we had several questions come in. What's a typical commission? So again, we have that base pay. A typical commission is 5 to 10% upon closing. That is the typical commission, 5 to 10% upon closing. I'm a fan of 10% because I'm an ISA, right? But really, it does help. The more that they can make, it just motivates them to stay in the position. So it's 10% of whatever the commission is. So if the team earned $10,000 commission, the ISA would get $1,000 if they're at that 10% range. Okay. And that's how they start to get that unlimited earning potential. The more money they bring you, the more money they get. Right. And so it really is a win-win for everybody. Okay, how do you approach agents when they go in the appointment and lose the lead? That's a great question. So I'm curious, Pam, are you asking as an agent, as an ISA? That will help me know how to answer you. Excuse me, guys. Okay, here's what I would say while I wait for your response to come in is, first, we got to know it's 50% my job as the ISA to get that person to sign, and it's 50% the agent's job to get that person to sign. So I get pretty passionate actually in defense of both ISAs and agents. I hear ISAs say it's totally the agent. They should have gotten a signature. It's 100% them. And I don't agree with that. I think as an ISA, it is my job to send you good people. Now, it's still called a sales job, right? So it doesn't mean it's going to be a slam dunk every time. Yet it's my job. I think of it kind of like I'm the bouncer on the team, and it's my job to choose, do I let this person in or not let them in? So if I have someone that's a really cold lead and I just set them because I need an appointment, that's on me, right? I should not have set that appointment until I knew that they were actually a good lead who was pre-qualified. Now, if I set a lead and then the agent doesn't practice their script, they walk in kind of blind, they didn't do any prep work, well, you know what? It's 50% the agent's job. So I say it's 50-50. It's half the agent to actually get the signature. It's also half the ISA to prep the client that, hey, you might sign something. We go deep into this in the Mastering Inside Sales program. So there are 2 programs I want to reference real quick because I can tell we're not going to have time to get to everything here. There is a program for the leader, which is most of you. called How to Hire, Train, and Retain Inside Sales Agents. It starts tomorrow. It runs for 5 weeks, and it's going to be Thursday afternoons, 3:30 Eastern. However, it's all recorded. So if you have a meeting at that time, or if you know that that's not something you can make, we record every session, and it's available for 60 days after the end of class. So you can have it even if you're not there live. So it's How to Hire, Train, and Retain Inside Sales Agents. In that class, we go over comp models. So a lot of what you guys are asking about payment. We go over how do you make sure you're getting ROI on the position. So you've hired this person, you're paying this person. How do you know, and I don't know how else to say it, but how do you know if they're bringing you enough money that it makes sense to keep them on the team? That's how we say it. So how do you make sure you're getting your ROI on the position? If you're an ISA, that's good for you too, because I need to make sure I'm bringing in return on investment, right? ROI. We go over how do you keep them culturally engaged? How do you build a good bridge between ISA and agents? So we spend 5 hours over the course of 5 weeks, 1 hour a week, going deep on a lot of the questions you guys have coming in. So you should see that in the chat box. How to Hire, Train, and Retain ISAs. That starts tomorrow, runs for 5 weeks. It's one of the last classes of 2020. I'm not sure yet that we'll be offering it again before next year. We might, but I don't think so. So just know that's one of your last opportunities for this year. Separately, we have a class for the actual ISA, the lead generator themselves, and it's a 6-month program. We go into language patterns, and one of the things we talk about is how do you hand over a lead to the agent to make it easy for the agent to get the signature. So we talk a lot in that class about how do you get a client's motivation? How do you pre-qualify them appropriately? How do you set an appointment that actually shows up and it's ready enough, prepared enough that they're probably going to sign with your agent? How do you do that? So that's in a separate class that starts on October 7th, 2 weeks from today, called Mastering Inside Sales. And that's definitely the last launch of 2020. That one I know for sure. So we'll have both of those in the chat box for you. Another option, you could go to annascoaching.com. It's a MAPS program, just to be clear. It's a Keller Williams MAPS program, open to any brokerage. But if you go to annascoaching.com, it's just a quick link so you can find the MAPS programs. It's right here. So annascoaching.com, just type that in. It'll bring you right here, and you'll see the Rainmaker program that starts tomorrow. You'll also see the ISA program that starts in 2 weeks. You'll see the details, and you'll see how to sign up, what to expect, all that good stuff. All right, so let me get the last few questions, and then we'll wrap up in here. So Carrie says 5 to 10% of the agent split or the total. It's the total that comes in. This is one of those things that I get nervous to talk about on a webinar because I don't know how you do all your splits and all this. So let me just explain it in general, and then you customize that for your team. But if the, say an agent earns, 35%, let me think of how to word this. When you read the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, so if you haven't done that yet, I recommend it. They talk about how the team should keep 50% of the commission, right? Because you have expenses, right? You have marketing, you've got salaries. So the team keeps 50% per the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. Everyone else can get the other 50%. So I like to describe it. And again, we go really deep into this in the How to Hire, Train, and Retain Inside Sales Agents. We talk about how do you set this up in a way that it's a win for everybody. But we like to describe it as that 50%, think of it like a menu. And if you set your own appointment, you get 10%. So if I'm a buyer's agent and I set an appointment myself, I get 10%. But if the ISA set it for me, they get 10%. Now, if I actually take the client out, I find him a house, I get him under contract, I get another 35%. So we talk about it kind of like menu options, because if we say you make 45% unless someone else sets the appointment for you, it feels like a takeaway, right? But if you say the activity of setting an appointment is worth 10%. So if you set your own appointment, you get 10%. If someone else sets it for you, they get 10%, but the activity of setting an appointment is worth 10%. That's a way that you can talk about it that would help culture and help people be pretty on board with that idea. So Carrie, I would recommend read this. It talks a lot about commission splits and things like that. We want to make sure that you as the team owner, I'm assuming that's your position, but I'm not real sure, that you're retaining the right amount of commission, that you can have a healthy business over time. And it goes deep into that in that book. Perfect. All right, guys, we're out of time. I actually am going to go teach the Mastering Inside Sales class that's currently running. So we need to end so I can go teach that class. But again, go to annascoaching.com. They are Keller Williams MAPS coaching programs. It's just an easy link to find it real quickly. You'll see both the Rainmaker class that starts tomorrow. Again, I think it's going to be the last offering of 2020. And then for sure, Mastering Inside Sales will not be offered again until 2021, except for the October 7th class. All sessions in both classes are recorded. It's a great leverage tool. If you have an ISA and you're thinking, I want to lead them better, I don't know how to train on some of these things, let us help you. Sign up for Mastering Inside Sales on October 7th. You can watch the videos. They can watch the videos. It'll help you know how to leverage that out. And then as the leader, take that 5-week class. It'll be well worth it. When you think about how much money you lose every time a team member leaves your team, it makes you kind of sick to your stomach, right? So the class that's tomorrow for the leader is $199. Trust me, it will help you save so much more money because you'll be hiring the right person and you'll be keeping them on your team once you hire them. So well worth the $199. I think you'll get a lot out of that class. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me today. If you have any questions, just reach out to me, mapscoachanna@gmail.com, and we'll see what we can do to help you. All right, have a great day, everybody.